Xbox has always been known for power. Raw hardware performance, frame rates, backwards compatibility, the technical side of gaming is where Xbox consistently delivers. But here's the conversation that doesn't happen enough. Xbox has quietly built one of the most impressive story-driven game libraries of any platform right now. Deep, emotional narratives, complex characters that stay with you long after the credits roll, worlds so carefully crafted that every corner has something to say. The kind of storytelling that makes you forget you're playing a game and convinces you that you're living inside one. Whether you own an Xbox Series X pushing every pixel to its limit, or a Series S proving that great stories don't need a massive budget, this library belongs to both of you equally. Today, we've rounded up the very best of it. These are the best story-driven games on Xbox Series X and S that prove great narrative gaming is alive and thriving on Xbox. Let's get into it.
There's a parasite in your brain that's slowly turning you into a monster, and you've got maybe days to stop it. Baldur's Gate 3 takes that ticking clock and builds one of the most reactive stories ever made around it. Companions with their own agendas, choices that spiral into consequences dozens of hours later, and combat that rewards genuinely creative thinking. Larian didn't just adapt Dungeons & Dragons. They built a world where nearly everything you try actually works, or fails in a way that's still interesting. Romance a vampire, betray your party, burn down a city. The game just keeps up. On Xbox Series X and S, this is role-playing without a ceiling.
A writer is trapped inside a horror story he's writing, and the only way out is to finish it, even if finishing it might kill him. Alan Wake 2 splits its story between Alan, lost in a shifting nightmare version of Manhattan, and Saga Anderson, an FBI agent investigating ritual murders in a small Pacific Northwest town. Remedy weaves live-action footage, psychological horror, and their own connected universe together into something genuinely unlike anything else on Xbox. The deeper you go, the less you can trust what's real, what's fiction, and what's bleeding between the two. This is a horror story that's also about the terror of creating one. No magic, no dragons, no chosen one. Just Henry, a blacksmith's son in medieval Bohemia, trying to survive a war he never asked to be part of. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 picks up his revenge story and makes it bigger, messier, and more personal, dropping you into a 15th century world so historically obsessive it feels less like a game and more like time travel. Combat is unforgiving, conversations actually matter, and your reputation follows you into every town. There's no glorified fantasy hero fantasy here, just a young man in over his head, making choices that ripple outward. It's slow burn storytelling for people who want their medieval world to feel real, not romanticized. You've seen Indiana Jones dodge boulders in movies. Now you're the one cracking the whip. The Great Circle drops you into 1937, hunting a mystery that connects ancient sites across the globe, from the Vatican's hidden archives to the sands of Giza to the jungles of Thailand. Machine Games, the studio behind Wolfenstein, nails the pulpy adventure serial feeling, first-person fistfights and all, while Troy Baker channels Harrison Ford so well it's genuinely uncanny. The puzzles feel like something ripped straight from the films, and the globe-trotting pacing never lets the story stall. On Xbox Series X and S, this is the closest thing to starring in your own Indiana Jones movie that's ever existed. Every year, a giant painted woman writes a number on a monolith, and everyone that age turns to dust. That's not a metaphor. That's just Tuesday in the world of Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. This French-made RPG became one of the biggest surprises of 2025, throwing you into a Belle Epoque nightmare, where a new expedition sets out annually to kill the paintress before she erases another generation. The combat mixes turn-based strategy with real-time dodges and parries, so you're never just watching numbers tick down. But it's the grief underneath the whole story. Everyone you meet is already living on borrowed time that makes this one stick with you long after the credits roll.
V has a dead terrorist personality slowly overriding their own brain, and Night City doesn't care. That's the setup for Cyberpunk 2077. And by 2026, with the Ultimate Edition bundling in Phantom Liberty, this is finally the version CD Projekt always wanted to ship. You're racing against your own mind while chasing immortality, corporate conspiracies, and Johnny Silverhand's ghost living in your skull. Every ending you can reach feels earned, brutal, and completely different depending on who you trusted along the way. The city itself is a character, vertical, neon-soaked, rotting from the inside. On Xbox Series X and S, it's a completely different game than it was at launch. If you skipped it back then, this is the redemption arc.
Arthur Morgan knows he's dying before the game even tells you why. That's the trick of Red Dead Redemption 2. It's not really about outlaws and shootouts. It's about a man watching his own moral ledger fill up in real time. You ride with the van der Linde gang through the last gasp of the Wild West, and every camp conversation, every side mission, every small kindness or cruelty changes who Arthur becomes by the end. Rockstar built a world so dense you could spend 200 hours in it and still find new heartbreak. On Xbox Series X and S, it runs buttery smooth, but the story is what wrecks people. This isn't a game you finish, it's one you carry with you.
By day, you're a transfer student with a criminal record you didn't earn. By night, you're stealing the corrupted hearts of adults abusing their power. Persona 5 Boyle follows the Phantom Thieves as they infiltrate warped psychological dungeons called palaces, each one built from the darkest desires of a different target: a teacher, a mob boss, a media mogul. It's style over substance, until you realize the style is the substance. Slick UI, killer soundtrack, and a cast of social outcasts turned vigilantes who actually feel like real teenagers with real grudges against the adults who failed them. The Royal Edition adds a whole extra arc that reframes everything you thought you understood. This is Persona at its absolute sharpest.
Every night at midnight, the world freezes. Coffins replace sleeping people, and monsters called shadows crawl out to feed. Persona 3 Reload rebuilds a story that was always about mortality. Your character and their friends are quite literally living on borrowed time, fighting inside a tower called Tartarus while trying to hold on to a normal high school life during the day. The Dark Hour isn't just a gameplay gimmick, it's the entire emotional core of the game. A constant reminder that death is coming for everyone eventually, and the only question is what you do before it arrives. Few RPGs commit to a theme this hard, and even fewer land it this well. Leon Kennedy just wants to rescue the president's daughter. He was not told about the village full of people who are very much not okay anymore. Resident Evil 4's remake rebuilds one of gaming's most influential horror stories from the ground up, keeping the tension, the dread, and the dark humor while making every encounter with El Ganado feel genuinely threatening again. Ashley isn't a liability this time. Leon's one-liners land better than ever, and the village to castle to island structure still paces like a perfect 3-act horror movie. This isn't just nostalgia bait. Capcom actually improved on a game people already considered flawless. Sun Wukong, the legendary Monkey King, is gone, and you're not him. You're something else entirely. Wandering a shattered version of Journey to the West mythology, hunting down fragments of a legend that isn't yours to claim. Black Myth Wukong turns Chinese folklore into a brutal, gorgeous action RPG, where every boss is pulled from centuries-old stories and twisted into something new. After a long wait, it finally landed on Xbox Series X and S in 2025, and it was worth it. The game rewards patience, punishes greed, and hides its real story in item descriptions and hidden dialogue you'll only catch if you're paying attention. This is Myth retold as a gauntlet. Two assassins, one story, neither of them expected. Assassin's Creed Shadows drops you into war-torn feudal Japan through Naoe, a trained shinobi, and Yasuke, based on the real African-born samurai who served under Oda Nobunaga.
Ubisoft finally lets the series breathe again here, weaving a genuine historical drama about outsiders trying to earn a place in a world that keeps rejecting them, all set against samurai politics, castle sieges, and a country tearing itself apart. Naoi's stealth and Yasuke's brute force play completely differently, but their stories fold into each other in ways that reframe the whole conflict. This is Assassin's Creed remembering it used to be about people, not just history museums. Jessie Faden walks into a government building to find her missing brother and accidentally becomes the director of an agency that manages reality-bending phenomena. Control throws you into the oldest house, a shape-shifting bureaucratic nightmare where furniture floats, hallways rearrange themselves, and an entity called the Hiss is possessing everyone in sight. Remedy tells this story through found documents, live-action interludes, and a setting that feels like the X-Files crossed with brutalist architecture. The deeper Jessie digs, the more her own past ties into the building's secrets. The Ultimate Edition bundles in both expansions, so on Xbox Series X and S, you're getting the full, unsettling picture. Cal Kestis survived Order 66, but survival isn't the same as being okay. Years later, Jedi Survivor finds him hardened, isolated, and pulled into a conspiracy that leads to a hidden planet holding a secret the Empire would kill to bury. Respawn builds this as a genuine character study wrapped inside a Star Wars adventure. Cal's trying to figure out who he even is when the Jedi Order that raised him no longer exists. The lightsaber combat is some of the best in any Star Wars game, but it's the quiet moments, the friendships, the grief that make this trilogy's middle chapter hit as hard as it does. This is Star Wars for people who want more than lightsabers.
Geralt of Rivia isn't hunting monsters for glory. He's looking for his adopted daughter before a spectral army made of the dead finds her first. The Witcher 3's Complete Edition is still, years later, one of the gold standards for open-world storytelling, because CD Projekt understood that side quests could carry as much emotional weight as the main plot. A witch's bargain, a baron's missing wife, a bard's rivalry. Nearly every detour reveals something about a world built on moral gray areas, instead of clean good versus evil answers. Ciri's story and Geralt's collide by the end in a way that actually earns its multiple endings. This is the game that proved fantasy RPGs could be literature.